My dear, sweet child, when the morning sun peeks through the veil of darkness and kisses your window pane with its golden lips, know this: God has already walked through your room. Yes, He has. He has tiptoed past the sorrow that tried to steal your dreams in the night. He has wrapped His arms around your weary soul before your feet ever touched the floor. There is a devotion, a sacred ritual, a whispered prayer that many do not know. It is not printed in books or shouted from pulpits. It is not found in formulas or rituals passed down from generations in black and white ink. It is quieter than a sigh, more powerful than a shout. It is the devotion of stillness, the devotion of surrender. Yes, baby. The secret morning devotion most don't know is simply this: it begins before you even speak. In the hush of the early morning, when the world is still tangled in dreams and the sky is painted in the soft blush of dawn, there is a kind of magic that hums through the air, a holy whisper that too many miss because they are too busy reaching for their phones or rushing into the day. But child, there is a power that lives in that silence, a power that does not demand eloquence or a long list of requests or fancy words dressed in religious lace. It is the power of showing up, raw and honest, before the Creator with nothing but your beating heart and your trembling breath, before you stretch your limbs or splash water on your face. There is a devotion waiting for you. It is not a devotion found in sermons, not a devotion written on gilded pages of dusty books, but a devotion written on the soft, tender skin of your soul. A devotion that requires you to do nothing but be, to sit in the mystery, to breathe in the promise of a new day, to let the quiet speak louder than any sermon ever could. Some people think they have to wait until they feel righteous enough, holy enough, strong enough to talk to God. But child, God is not looking for perfection. He is looking for your presence. He is not waiting for you to tidy up your spirit or sweep your heart clean of its fears and failures before you enter the throne room. He welcomes you in the mess, in the confusion, in the pain that lingers like a bruise on the soul, because God knows that the softest prayers are the ones you pray without words, when your spirit groans with need and your eyes sting with tears you cannot explain. It is there, in that sacred pause between waking and doing, that you build the strongest altar, an altar of breath, of surrender, of trust. An altar where you lay down your fears before the sun rises to remind you of them. An altar where you place your hopes before they can be bruised by the harshness of the day. An altar where you offer your heart, cracked and patched together, saying, Lord, I don't know what this day will bring, but I trust you with it. In that first breath of morning, you make a choice. Will you run into the noise, into the chaos, into the swirling demands of the world? Or will you wait in the hush, where God's Spirit broods over the waters of your soul and whispers the truth you have longed to hear? You are loved. You are seen. You are mine. There are people who will mock this stillness, who will say you are wasting time by sitting in silence while the world burns with urgency. But let them mock. Let them rush. Because when they have exhausted themselves on the treadmill of striving, you will walk steady with the peace of God tucked into your bones, carrying the hush of the morning into the noise of the afternoon, a quiet anchor in the middle of the storm. You do not need incense. You do not need perfect words. You do not need anything but a willingness to be still. For in the stillness, God shows up in ways you cannot imagine. In the stillness, your spirit is fed. In the stillness, your heart finds strength to forgive, to hope, to believe again. There is a secret many don't know, a secret hidden in the trembling hush before dawn. It is the place where heaven bends low to earth and God gathers your broken pieces in His scarred hands, whispering, This is enough. You are enough. I will make something beautiful out of this. So, child, before you do anything else, sit in that stillness. Let the day wait. Let the worries wait. Let the voices wait. There, in the sacred hush of the morning, you will find the devotion that is deeper than words, older than time, stronger than any fear that will cross your path. And when you rise, you will rise with the Spirit of God wrapped around you like a soft shawl, a silent anthem that will echo through every step you take. You will rise with the hush of heaven still in your bones, carrying the quiet power of the dawn into a world that desperately needs it. This is the secret devotion. This is the gift. This is the holy hush that can change your life, if only you dare to pause long enough to let it. In the tapestry of morning, when the first light brushes against your eyelids and you feel the weight of another day waiting to unfurl, remember this devotion does not begin with your voice. It begins with your hunger. It begins with the aching space inside you that the world cannot fill, no matter how bright the sun shines or how sweet the promise of success. So many have been taught to measure devotion by outward display, by the length of their prayers, by the scriptures recited with perfect cadence, by the songs sung loud enough to echo through the rafters. But God, in all his boundless wisdom, does not measure your devotion by how you perform before others. He measures it by the depth of your thirst for him. Child, there is a river that runs through the Spirit, and it cannot be stilled by praise that is only skin deep. It cannot be fed by rituals that do not touch the heart. This river is fed by the silent yearning, the restless longing of a soul that knows there is more than this world can offer. A soul that is tired of pretending, a soul that is tired of being filled with noise that never satisfies. In the hush of morning, before you lace up your shoes and face the day, your spirit hungers. It is like a bird pressing its beak against the cage, longing to be let free into the sky of God's mercy. The hunger is not a weakness. It is the doorway, the first step. I have seen people try to feed that hunger with the applause of others, with ambition dressed up in Sunday clothes, with hollow words spoken to impress a congregation, but never whispered in the secret places to the Almighty. Those souls grow weary. They grow bitter, because they are running on empty, pouring out of a well they never let God fill. You see, real devotion starts when you let yourself be empty before God, when you stop clutching your plans and your pride and your careful masks, when you admit you are hungry, not for the things of this world, not for the fleeting rewards that come and go with the turning of the seasons, but for the steady, unshakable presence of the one who knew you before your mother first cradled you in her arms. That hunger is holy. That hunger is sacred. That hunger is not something to be embarrassed by, to be hidden away or silenced because the world teaches you to always appear strong. No, baby. It is in that hunger that God meets you, fills you, and transforms you. There is something beautiful about a person who knows they are hungry for God. They carry a light in their eyes. They speak with a gentleness born of humility. They do not have to shout to prove they are faithful. They do not have to flaunt their devotion in the marketplace. Their very life becomes a testament, not to their goodness, but to God's goodness shining through the cracks of their broken places. This is the devotion that moves mountains. This is the devotion that brings peace to the chaos. It is not forged in loud declarations. It is born in quiet rooms where you whisper, Lord, I cannot do this without you. I cannot walk another step unless you fill me first. I hunger for you more than I hunger for breath itself. When you speak those words, or even when you cannot speak them, but only think them with a trembling soul, heaven leans close. The angels hush their songs. The Spirit of God brushes against you like a warm wind through the broken window of an old house, carrying comfort, carrying hope, carrying a strength you did not know you possessed. So don't be fooled by those who say devotion is measured in volume or public acclaim. Don't compare your hunger to someone else's banquet table. What God seeks is your honest emptiness. He wants your need, because only the hungry can truly be filled, and only the thirsty can truly be quenched. In the morning, before the world demands your strength, give your weakness to God. Offer your hunger. Lay your soul bare. Say, Lord, I am yours. I am not enough without you. Feed me with your word. Fill me with your spirit. Guide me with your love. And watch, child, how he takes your hunger and turns it into a feast. Watch how he uses your thirst to bring forth rivers in the desert. Watch how he builds your strength not from your striving, but from your surrender. This is the devotion few understand, the devotion that begins not in certainty but in longing. It is a holy longing, a sacred hunger, a place where God meets you not because you are good enough, but because he is good enough. So let the hunger rise like incense in the morning light. Let it lead you into the quiet places of God's presence, where he will feed you with truth, with peace, with a love that the world can neither give nor take away. Let your hunger be your prayer, your sacrifice, your song. And God, oh yes, God, will fill you until you overflow. You see, child, there is something sacred in the silence, something the world rushes past and misses entirely. In the space before your day begins, before the shouts and the horns and the endless demands of bills, bosses, children, and chores, there is a doorway that swings wide open between you and heaven, and it does not require you to do anything but wait, to sit, to breathe. People have grown so accustomed to noise, to filling every moment with sound, with conversation, with television humming in the background, with music blasting in the ears until the heart can't even hear itself think. But the soul is a tender, wild thing, and it does not grow strong in a cage of constant chatter. It needs quiet. It needs room. It needs above all stillness. Stillness is not weakness. It is not laziness. It is not wasted time. Oh no. Stillness is the place where God pulls up a chair beside you and says, "Let me tell you something, beloved." It is the place where your weary spirit, so worn out from proving itself to the world, can lean back and rest against the chest of the Almighty, can hear the steady heartbeat that has been there since the dawn of time, a beat that says over and over, "You are loved. You are loved. You are loved." We live in a world that idolizes doing. They will tell you that your worth is measured in how fast you run, how much you achieve, how many hours you grind without stopping. But let me tell you something my grandmother used to say while she watched the sunrise from the old wooden porch, clutching her coffee cup with those work-worn hands. Child, sometimes the strongest thing you can do is nothing at all. Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is be still and listen. A stillness is where you learn to hear that small, steady voice that cannot compete with the shouts of the world. God does not come crashing in like thunder every morning. No, more often he slips in like a soft breeze, rustling the curtains of your soul, waiting for you to hush the noise and let him speak. It is in that stillness that you find the courage you will need to face the world outside your door, the courage to keep loving when others betray you, the courage to stand tall when life tries to knock you down, the courage to forgive when your heart would rather cling to the bitterness that has become familiar. Stillness is where the battle is fought and won before you ever raise your hand or lift your voice. It is where you let God remind you of who you really are, not a cog in someone else's machine, not a pawn in the world's endless games, but a precious, chosen, beloved child of the King. The secret many don't know is that you don't have to fill the silence with words. You don't have to pray the perfect prayer or say the right things. You just have to show up and be willing to let God speak into the silence. And what he speaks might not be what you expect. Sometimes he speaks comfort, soft like a lullaby sung over a crying child. Sometimes he speaks conviction, gentle but firm, pulling your stubborn heart back into the path of righteousness. Sometimes he doesn't speak at all, but just sits with you in the stillness, And that, my dear, is enough. Because when you give God your stillness, He gives you His presence. And His presence is the greatest gift you will ever know. It is balm for the wounds you dare not show the world. It is light for the paths you are too afraid to walk alone. It is peace that runs deeper than your fears, stronger than your worries, louder than your doubts. So when the morning breaks, don't rush to fill it with doing. Don't let the world steal away the precious hush that belongs to you and God alone. Guard it, protect it, cherish it like a hidden jewel, because in that stillness, your spirit learns to breathe again. In that stillness, your heart learns to trust again. In that stillness, your hope learns to rise again. And when you step out into the day, you will not walk alone. You will carry the quiet fire of God's love in your chest, a steady flame that will not be put out by the winds of trouble or the storms of life. That, child, is the gift of stillness. That is the power of a devotion that begins in silence and surrender. And it is yours for the taking every single morning. All you have to do is be still and let God be God. There comes a moment, child, when you realize the loudest prayer is not the one that tumbles from your lips in a torrent of words, but the one that grows in the soil of your silence. There comes a moment when you understand that God does not require your eloquence, your endless lists, your panicked pleas for blessing. All He requires is your heart, laid bare and trembling in the soft light of morning. People rushing to prayer like rushing into a marketplace, demanding, bargaining, insisting on their way. But God is not a merchant. God is not waiting behind a counter, weighing your requests against your offerings, measuring your worth by how much you ask or how well you speak. God is a father, a mother, a lover of your soul, and all He wants more than anything is you. Just you, the real you. So many people miss this baby. They think prayer is the recital of holy words, the repetition of sacred scripts, the performance that will make God notice them. But what God notices is not your posture or your volume. What moves His heart is the raw, unpolished ache you dare to bring into the light. The prayer that says, Lord, I don't even know what to say today. I don't have the strength. I don't have the answers. But I am here, and I need you. That kind of prayer breaks open the heavens. That kind of prayer shakes the very foundations of the earth. That kind of prayer is the secret morning devotion most don't know, because it is not about speaking at all. It is about being humble, being open, being still. You see, darling, God knows every word you will speak before it forms on your tongue. He knows your fears, your sins, your hopes, your grief. He does not need the performance. He does not need the show. He wants your presence, your honesty, your willingness to come before Him with empty hands, trusting He will fill them. There is a power in saying nothing and letting the Holy Spirit groan for you. There is a power in sitting in the dark before dawn, letting your tears become your prayer, letting the beating of your heart become the rhythm of your worship. And if you listen, truly listen, you will hear Him there in the soft hush that follows your surrender. You will hear Him say, You are mine. I have you. I see you. I know what you cannot put into words. And I am here. You do not need fancy words to reach God. You do not need to persuade Him to love you. You do not need to convince Him to care. His love is older than the sun, deeper than the oceans, higher than the mountains that pierce the sky. And that love is yours freely given, without cost, without condition. So let your devotion be simple, like a child reaching for her mother's hand. Let it be honest, like the song of a bird at dawn. Let it be quiet, like the prayer of a weary soul too tired to speak. And you will find, in that quiet place, a strength you never knew you had, a hope you never dared to claim, a peace that flows from the throne of God into the cracks of your soul, mending what the world tried to break. Do not fear the silence, child. The silence is where God speaks. The silence is where your spirit learns to hear again, learns to breathe again, learns to trust again. The silence is where your burdens fall away like autumn leaves, where your fears melt in the light of his gentle gaze. And when you rise from that silence, you will not rise the same. You will rise clothed in grace, wrapped in mercy, filled with a holy calm that nothing in this world can steal. You will walk into the chaos with a quiet power the world cannot comprehend. You will face the noise with a peace that cannot be shaken. That is the secret of the morning devotion most don't know. It is not about doing. It is about being. It is not about talking. It is about listening. It is not about presenting your best self. It is about offering your true self, flaws and all, to the God who knows and loves you anyway. So come, baby. Come as you are. Come tired, come broken, come empty. You do not need to clean yourself up first. You do not need to fix what is shattered. Bring it all. Bring your cracked pieces. Bring your worn-out hope. Bring your trembling faith. Lay it at his feet. And then wait. Wait in the hush. Wait in the quiet. Wait in the space where your soul meets his mercy. And there you will find not the answer you expected, but the answer you needed all along, the simple, unshakable truth that you are loved, you are held, you are seen. And in that knowing, you will find the courage to face the day. You will find the strength to keep going. You will find the grace to forgive, the hope to believe, the love to keep giving. Because sometimes, child, the strongest prayer is the one you never say out loud. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is simply showing up, empty and quiet, and letting God do what only God can do. There is a hush that falls over the world before the dawn, a sacred hush that only those brave enough to wait in the darkness can feel. That hush is not empty, child. It is not a void. It is the breath of God lingering over you like a mother watching her child sleep. And in that hush, there is a promise that you do not have to prove yourself to be loved. You do not have to shout to be heard. You do not have to strive to be held. We have been taught too often that devotion is something we show the world, that we must display our faith, parade our goodness, announce our sacrifices so others will nod and say, "Look how holy they are." But God is not impressed by show. He is not moved by the clanging of cymbals or the trumpets of our pride. God is drawn to the quiet places. He is drawn to the hearts that whisper rather than shout, the souls that surrender rather than perform. In the secret place of your morning, where no one sees but heaven, you have a chance to build a foundation that cannot be shaken. A foundation built not on what the world calls success, but on what God calls truth. The truth is simply you are loved, not because you earned it, but because you exist. You are worthy, not because you achieved something great, but because you bear the image of the one who made the stars. And this truth does not shout. It does not need to. It hums softly beneath the surface of your skin, in the beat of your heart, in the sight of your spirit when you finally let go of the masks and the rushing and the fear. I have seen souls that thought they had to prove their worth to God. They dragged themselves to altars with heavy hearts, thinking maybe if they tried harder, prayed louder, gave more, he might finally bless them. But devotion is not a bargain. It is not a transaction. It is not a performance to earn divine affection. It is a love song sung in the quiet of the morning, when no one but God is listening. It is in that quiet that you learn to trust. Trust does not bloom in noise. It does not blossom in chaos. Trust is the tender vine that winds itself around your heart when you let the world fall away, when you lean back into the silence and whisper, "Lord, I do not know what today holds, but I trust you with it all." That, my dear, is the gift of the secret devotion. It builds a trust so deep, so resilient, that the storms of the day cannot wash it away. It is the trust of a child who knows her father's hand will catch her when she stumbles. The trust of a soul that has been broken but chooses, again and again, to be mended by grace. And oh, how the world needs that kind of trust. A trust that does not falter when doors close. A trust that does not crumble when prayers seem to go unanswered. A trust that does not turn bitter when life does not follow the path you thought it would. This trust is not born in a moment. It is grown slowly, like a tree that sinks its roots deep in the soil before it dares to stretch its limbs to the sky. It is grown in the early mornings, when the only light you see is the soft glow of hope that refuses to die. People will tell you to hurry, to hustle, to push and grab and fight for what you want. But I tell you, child, there is a better way. There is a holier path. It is the path of the quiet devotion, where trust is forged not in the fires of your own striving, but in the gentle flame of God's abiding presence. And when you learn to trust Him in the dark, in the quiet, in the empty places, you will find a strength the world cannot steal. You will find a joy that does not depend on circumstances. You will find a peace that makes no sense to those who have not learned the power of the morning hush. Let your first prayer be this: Lord, I trust you, even when you don't feel strong, even when the road ahead is unclear, even when your heart is heavy with grief you cannot name. Whisper it into the silence, and let God do the rest. Because, my darling, trust is not something you muster up on your own. It is a gift that comes when you sit in the hush and let Him remind you that He is bigger than your fear, stronger than your sorrow, more faithful than your doubts. So come to Him in the morning. Come with your uncertainty, your questions, your weariness. You do not need answers. You do not need a perfect prayer. You only need an open heart, willing to say, I am yours. And in that small, sacred offering, you will find the greatest gift of all, a God who meets you exactly where you are, who holds you steady when the world shakes, who whispers, I have you, beloved. I have you, and I will never let you go. This is the secret morning devotion most don't know, and now you do. Carry it close, guard it well, and let it be the anchor that holds you fast through every storm, every sorrow, every joy. Let it be the quiet song that plays beneath your laughter and your tears. A song that sings, again and again, trust. Trust.